The sun was dipping low over the endless plains, painting the horizon in shades of blood orange and purple. As the lone rancher rode slowly through his sprawling land, the leather of his saddle creaking with every step of his tired horse. For years he had lived alone, the echo of silence becoming as familiar as the sound of the wind whistling through the grass. His hands, calloused and strong from years of tending cattle and repairing fences, held the reins loosely as he contemplated the emptiness that had consumed his life since the passing of his wife. Each day was a repetition of labor and solitude, punctuated only by the distant calls of hawks circling above. Yet on this evening, something unusual stirred in the air, a sense of anticipation that he couldn't shake off. And as he approached the edge of a small grove of mesquite trees, he noticed her. She was enormous, even taller than he could remember anyone being, with a presence that seemed to command the earth itself. Her skin glowed warmly in the fading sunlight, and her dark eyes, like pools of liquid night, fixed on him with an intensity that made him stop in his tracks. The giant Apache girl, whose name he would later learn was Aylin, stepped forward, her movements graceful yet powerful, each step causing the dry earth to whisper beneath her feet. She spoke, her voice deep and melodic, carrying a weight of desire and longing that made his heart skip. "Plant your seed in me," she said, the words hanging in the air like a challenge, yet soft enough to make him wonder if he had been dreaming all these years. The rancher, caught off guard, felt a rush of emotions he hadn't felt in decades: curiosity, fear, and a strange yearning he couldn't place. He studied her carefully, noting the strength in her arms, the determination in her eyes, and the vulnerability that lay just beneath her confident exterior. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of sage and wildflowers, and suddenly the world felt different, charged with electricity, as if the plains themselves were holding their breath, waiting for what would come next. He hesitated, his mind torn between the life he had known and the unknown path that Aylin represented. She smiled, a knowing, almost teasing smile, and took a step closer, closing the distance between them in a heartbeat that felt like a lifetime. Her hand brushed against his arm, strong yet gentle, and the contact sent a shiver down his spine. He realized that she was no ordinary woman. She was a force of nature, untamed and fearless, and she had chosen him for reasons he couldn't yet understand. Memories of loneliness, of nights spent staring at the stars, wondering if anyone would ever break through his fortress of solitude, surged within him, and he felt something awaken, a desire to connect, to surrender, to finally feel alive again. Aylin spoke again, her voice a whisper now, compelling and intimate. "I've watched you from afar, seen the way you tend this land, the way you care for life around you. I want more than a fleeting connection. I want your blood, your legacy, to live through me." The words struck him deeply, stirring a conflict between duty and longing, fear and excitement. He had never encountered anyone like her, and yet the simplicity and directness of her plea made his heart pound with a mixture of anticipation and dread. He knew the risks, of course, the judgments of neighbors, the uncertainty of intimacy with someone so wild and independent. But the intensity in her gaze erased every rational thought from his mind. The sun sank lower, casting long shadows across the ground, and as he dismounted, the rancher felt the weight of choice pressing down on him. He stepped toward Aylin, each movement deliberate, each breath heavy with tension, as if the universe itself had slowed to witness this meeting. She looked up at him, eyes glimmering, waiting, and for the first time in years, he felt a spark of life, a promise of something beyond the monotony of isolation. The rancher reached out, gripping her hand firmly, feeling the warmth, the undeniable strength, and in that moment, the silence of the plains was broken by a pulse of anticipation, a silent drumbeat of what was about to unfold. Their bodies moved closer, drawn by gravity, by instinct, by a shared hunger neither fully understood yet couldn't resist. And as they stood together, the sun finally disappearing behind the horizon, the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them, leaving only the promise of passion, connection, and the unknown adventure that lay ahead. He knew that nothing would ever be the same again, that life had taken a sharp turn into a world of desires, of possibilities, and as her hand lingered in his, he whispered a promise, not to the world, but to her, that he would embrace whatever path lay before them together. And in that promise, the first chapter of a story neither had expected began, a tale of passion, courage, and the raw power of human connection that would echo through the plains for years to come. If you're enjoying this story and want to experience the next chapter of this thrilling Wild West adventure, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment of this epic tale. The night had fully descended over the ranch. Stars scattered across the sky like diamonds, and the cool breeze carried the scent of sagebrush and earth, stirring memories of years the rancher had spent alone. Since that first electrifying encounter with Aylin, the giant Apache girl, life had shifted in ways he never imagined possible. Their connection had grown beyond mere curiosity or desire. It was now a force that pulled them together, like the rivers carved through the plains. Every day, Aylin immersed herself in the rhythm of ranch life, her strength making labor lighter, her laughter filling spaces that had long been silent, and her eyes, always searching, always knowing, seemed to read the deepest corners of his soul. She was fearless, untamed, yet she carried a vulnerability that made him feel protective and alive in a way he hadn't felt in decades. By day they worked side by side, mending fences, tending cattle and riding the open plains, and by night the tension between them simmered into a passionate intimacy that was both tender and wild. Aylin would speak of her longing with an honesty that left him breathless, words dripping with desire. "I want to carry your legacy," she whispered one night, tracing the lines of his hands with her fingers. "I want your blood, your life, a part of you inside me." At first, he hesitated, haunted by fear, doubt, and the weight of responsibility. But her gaze was unwavering, and her voice a siren song that dissolved all his resistance. The nights were filled with their closeness, each encounter deepening the bond, merging hearts and spirits as much as bodies. He felt a stirring of life he thought had died with his loneliness, a rekindling of hope, passion, and purpose. Slowly, the rancher realized that Aylin's desire to bear his child was not just about intimacy. It was about trust, legacy, and creating a future that neither of them could achieve alone. When he finally agreed, the intensity of their union became almost sacred, a merging of strength and vulnerability, a testament to their courage to embrace life fully. Days passed, and soon the first signs of Aylin's pregnancy appeared, her radiant joy illuminating the ranch as she moved with a glow that made even the animals pause and watch her with curiosity. Their love had become a legend whispered among the few neighbors, brave enough to venture near, a tale of desire, passion, and the extraordinary connection between a lone man and a woman who defied the world. Through it all, the rancher felt a profound shift within himself. Loneliness and sorrow had given way to pride, anticipation, and a new understanding of love's power to transform life. Each sunrise brought renewed purpose, each night an intimate reminder of their bond. Together, they carved a life that was unbreakable, built on trust, desire, and the promise of a future embodied in the child growing within Aylin. And as the moon cast its silver light over the plains, illuminating the ranch, the rancher and the giant Apache girl stood hand in hand, hearts beating in unison, knowing that their story was only beginning, a story that would echo through the Wild West, full of passion, courage, and the triumph of love over isolation. If you want to witness every thrilling, passionate, and heart-stopping moment of their journey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon and follow along, because the next chapter of this extraordinary Wild West adventure will leave you breathless and wanting more.